Hello, everyone. Today I am talking to Rob Miller, who is the president and CEO of PRT Growing Services. Now, I remember PRT when it was still Pacific Regenerative Technologies. So, Rob, can you first of all tell me about PRT's involvement in this massive reforestation seedling planting initiative across Canada? I'm really fascinated to know what that's all about.
Sure. Canada's cross-country tree plant was an initiative that was put together by a number of people in the tree planting industry that we work with. They brought in the Western Silviculture Contractors Association, which is an industry body, and we were quick to jump on and sponsor from the nursery side because we're all kind of joined at the hip in terms of this effort to plant trees. And it's a great initiative because it celebrates the planting of trees, what happens with tree planters in Canada, which for many of you, if you're from Canada, will know is almost a rite of passage for a lot of college students in terms of getting out there in the working world. And they do great work, and it's a unique culture and a very tough job. And we wanted to really just sort of signal those efforts and commend them on that work, and I think also bring awareness to this opportunity from the point of view of the industry for a lot of young people today who can get out and do this important work. It's very meaningful work. You can make good money at it, and it's something that is obviously desperately in need as we look at the state of our forests.
So that initiative, was it strictly forest planting?
Yes, it was all about.
It wasn't any parks or any that kind of green spaces. It was strictly forest planting, yeah?
Yeah, what we did was we basically connected with tree planting companies across the nation and said, engage your people in this effort. Let's do a tally of how many trees can we get in the ground in a single day. And so everybody got on board. A lot of companies actually piggybacked with some fundraising for local communities or other organizations that they're aligned with or wanted to support. So there were some secondary benefits that came out of it as well. But just the recognition of what we do as an industry was significant, and it was really amazing to see that in that one single day, over 10 million trees were planted across Canada in one single day. And as we think about it and the need for trees, and one of the big government-led initiatives that's on in Canada right now is the 2 Billion Tree Initiative. There's a lot of concern about, can we get this done? Can we layer all these extra trees on top of what already gets planted in this nation? And I think we've sent a pretty strong signal that yes, it can. And when we mobilize people to the cause, 10 million trees in a single day, it shows how powerful this force can be when we bring them all together and work on a focused effort.
So speaking of millions and billions, I'm thinking that PRT has probably supplied over 4 billion seedlings now for reforestation?
Indeed, we have. And I think by next year, we probably will have provided our 5 billionth tree. So we're well on the road to a very significant milestone, and it's quite rewarding. And it's been accelerating. We've been growing our business, and we're today, just on an annual basis, are planting over 300 million trees a year coming from our nursery. So it's a pretty significant component of the overall tree planting effort in North America.
I think one of the things that people don't appreciate fully, and I know I certainly didn't in the past, is seedlings. It's not just one species. You provide 20? How many species do you provide?
You could probably count it in the hundreds. The complexity is added to by not just the species, but the specific seed lots. So the genetics that we grow are usually destined for a very specific area, for latitude and longitude and elevation. And then there are different sizes within those as well. So that the complexity gets multiplied as you work through it. But it's all about growing the right tree for the site. So making sure that we give it that we're returning the natural diversity that was there when we started, and secondly, giving the tree the best chance to survive and thrive as we go forward. So we're working with our customers on that and making sure that we're helping them find that right tree and get it in the ground and make it successful.
So I think one of the big changes that PRT went through was originally when the company started, when it was a privatization initiative from government nurseries, it was all bare root, right? And then your
Hmm.
customers said, we can't deal with these as easily. They're not as hardy, they're not as easy to deal with. So you innovated around that, right?
Yeah, that's right. Most of the industry in Canada and in the US was bare root grown seedlings, but there was this technology that was being developed of growing in containers, and we recognized early in the piece that that was a superior technology, that we got better field performance with container grown seedlings over field grown, so better survival. And so we went down that road and converted all of our nurseries into containers over time. And today, we virtually grow 100% of our trees in containers. We are the leader in North America in container grown seedling capacity. And with 35 years of history, we're considered to be pretty proficient in this technology.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. And so I believe it's a new product line, a relatively new product line is the biomass species.
Right, right. Yeah, we a number of years ago started thinking about how we could apply some of our expertise in propagation to other markets, and we could see a need for what's termed woody biomass or short rotation woody biomass, which means fast growing trees that can be converted into woody biomass for purposes like bioenergy, for example, or we've seen the biomass being used for generation of electricity, or used for chips on trails and communities, and any number of uses that the biomass can be grown for. But generally, what happens is it gets grown as part of a larger environmental remediation project. So we're working, for example, with the city of Calgary to help them with their treated sewage disposal. So they take marginal farmland. They are able to spread out their treated sewage biosolids on this farmland. Then they grow willow on that, which gives the nutrient. The willows take up all of the nutrients that are coming out of the biosolids. That they can cut them down and use the chips, and then they regrow again. So you have this cycle, this circular economy model of growing growing rotation. We're talking about 3 years to harvest trees that are helping them deal with the sewage problem, and also turning marginal farmland into very productive land over time. So it's an interesting new business line for us, and we've done several projects in Alberta to date around this technology.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. What kind of impact did COVID have, or has COVID had on the company?
Well, it was a very difficult period to manage through, as you might imagine. I
Yeah.
had lots of sleepless nights wondering how we were going to keep employees safe through all of this. But as a company that's in the forest products supply chain, we were considered an essential business under the regulations that were in place in virtually every jurisdiction we operated. So we had a mandate to continue to operate. Our customers were very committed to getting the trees planted that we had in our nursery. So we were able to continue full tilt through the process with COVID. And so it came down to really carefully executing how we ran our nurseries, how we kept people safe, and it was very rewarding in the sense that we didn't have to incur any long-term shutdowns in facilities, or we didn't see any serious COVID spread within our nurseries, and so we kept people working. We got the trees grown, close to 300 million trees grown last year, and filled our mandate for our customers. So it was in hindsight, a very rewarding experience, but certainly a challenging one for all of us in the company to manage through.
I recall that in the early days of PRT, you were probably an early adopter of having this dispersed workforce, right? Operations in different places. Were there things that you learned from that experience that helped you navigate kind of the COVID and the distance teams? Are there takeaways that you learned from the old days?
Without doubt, and that's a really good point. We've been operating on a distributed remote model for some time, and so we had systems in place already where people can work from remote offices or from their homes, And it was very a very smooth transition for us by comparison to many businesses to be able to move our people out of offices and into their homes to operate for COVID safety. So we were very fortunate that we had that IT infrastructure in place and virtual meeting space and all of that. So it really did facilitate that transition. Having said that, of course, a large number of our employees work physically on site in nurseries. They don't have that option. So that's where the challenge was for us, was that we weren't able to send them home. So we had to make sure that they had proper PPE and COVID safety protocols in place to make sure that they could come to work and stay healthy through the piece.
Right. So Rob, what is next for PRT?
Well, we were recently acquired actually by Instar Asset Management, which is a large Canadian infrastructure investment fund out of Toronto. And they're very keen on developing an agricultural portfolio and infrastructure. And they're also very focused on good ESG practices. And so I think our business has fit well with that portfolio. Clearly, environmental, social, and governance factors are important across not just the corporate sector, but just across our society generally. Tree planting is obviously core to some good environmental practices. And so we're keen to grow this business. They're keen to see us grow this business and are supporting that. We've been expanding over the years. We're now right across North America in virtually every major forest region except Quebec at this point. And we want to continue to expand that footprint and continue to grow market share, delivering on really high quality trees grown with our container growing technology. And that's our core value to our customers.
So as far as I know, PRT is already the big dog in the field, right? You're the biggest dog?
We're the largest grower of containerized seedlings in North America. Yeah.
Okay. And do you see yourself diversifying into kind of like the biomass into anything else? Does your expertise in the seedlings lend itself to any other kind of expansion that would be diverse?
It's certainly possible. I think what we're doing with our Bioneer division is in itself a diversification along those lines, and we want to continue to develop that market. Our propagation systems and containers could be used in other products as well, and that's a possibility as well. But we do continue to see more opportunity in the traditional forest seedling space that we're in. Not least, where I talked about geographic footprint and market share, but the need for seedlings is expanding. And the initiatives like the 2 Billion Tree Initiative, or in the US, which has recently signed on to the Global Trillion Tree Initiative, those are going to put tremendous pressure on nurseries' capacity in North America. And so as a well-funded company with the scale and the ability to grow, I think we can help meet that need. And I think we're gearing up for that. We want to be able to make sure that this very important work that we're undertaking from a policy perspective around tree planting can be enabled. And so we're trying to stay close to those initiatives as they develop and make sure that we're there with the capacity that's needed.
Rob, it is a pleasure to talk to you, and I'm so happy to hear that PRT is doing so well, and wish you all the very best in the future.
Thank you. Great talking to you, John. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about PRT today.
You too.
Okay.